This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge.
Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod. This is the show for the week of February 9th, 2026. And this is what's going on in our Disney World, take 3. If you are watching, I am wearing my podcast sweater. I've got an actually button-down shirt because I was just out with my son's birthday dinner. And Phil, I do have an announcement. I did buy a new sweater, so I might have a blue one on next week. We will see.
Oh, okay.
That's for our viewers out there, not our listeners. So just letting you ever know. Anyway, I thought we're recording this on a Saturday because Phil has some business travel coming up. And then, of course, next week he won't be here because he'll be in Paris. More to come on that later. So I thought hey, this week was going to be relatively short. We published on Tuesday. We do a show on Saturday. Usually there's not too much. But then immediately after we announced some of our speculations about the CEO, Disney announced that Josh D'Amaro is the next Disney CEO. So we're going to talk about that today.
Yep.
Opening date for Frozen has been announced. There's more permits. So there's a lot of I wanted to say there was a lot of construction updates, but there really wasn't. But there's some really interesting ones, especially around Piston Peak. So we'll go ahead and talk about that a little bit later. But first, social media at the DBC Pod, anywhere where you might do your social media. And of course, Discord. Hop into the Discord server, join the conversation. Our DBC engagement this week, Phil, was very light, but there was a lot more conversation going on, not about the DBC engagement. So that was all a good conversation to be had. So hop in and join. All right. With that being said, Phil, let's hop into it because we've got a really busy show this week because there's a lot to talk about. How do you want to kick off the news?
Yeah, so I'll just kick it off with what you led with, that Josh D'Amaro has been named the next CEO of the Disney company. He will assume the position on March 18th when Bob Iger will step down, but he will stay on as a special advisor and then formally retire from the company at the end of the year when his contract is up. Obviously, this is kind of expected. I think this was it 97% chance odds or something like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, it was also announced that Dana Walden was named the president and chief creative officer at Disney. She makes history a few ways. She's the first female president of the company, and also chief creative officer is a new role that they created for her to take and that sort of thing. So obviously a lot of interesting stuff there. I did put into here what our predictions were that we did before the year. We asked who is it going to be.
I mean, you put these in here just because I was so terrible with my prediction, and you were basically spot on. So
well, we both said it would be Josh would be the next CEO. I was a little closer on when it would be named. There's another news item coming up that you won that one with the prediction, so I think it's okay that it's even. I said it's going to be around end of January. Obviously, it was very beginning of February. You thought it was going to be not until the end of April, tied with the quarterly report around then. So obviously, it came out. We didn't know. Some reports said it was just going to be later in the quarter or something, and then it just came out really quickly.
It just happened, yeah.
The other thing I had, would there be any other executive changes? And I did actually predict that Dana Walden would get a new title. So I thought I'm going to have another round of self-congratulations for that one. I also thought Bruce Vaughn might get elevated. It doesn't seem like that happened. You said there'd be mild changes to the executive team and stuff like that. So overall, I think it was an easy one, but we were pretty spot on, I think, overall. There's been a lot of engagement now with Josh being out in the public. There was lots of reports and stuff that he and Bob Iger and Josh were out in Disneyland today, touring the parks together. They both did a sit-down interview on ABC World News Tonight. There's a lot of in there that I think for parks fans should make them happy. In that interview, he said, "I spend a lot of times in our beloved parks. I see firsthand the importance of the brand, what Disney means to them, what it means to their families." So I think he's at least saying the right things. Everybody you talk to, it seems like he's pretty genuine about this and his care for the park. So I guess we'll see. I don't know. What were your thoughts? Any other kind of takeaways that you had?
I mean, there's one phrase that he said, but let me draw back a little bit. I think we all need to be excited. We touched upon a lot of this last week, but He's a parks guy. He's been in the parks ever since his ABD days in entertainment, right? So he came up knowing the value of Disney entertainment, like in the parks. He's just spearheading a massive amount of spend across the entertainment platform. He's overseen I don't know how many new cruise ships over the last 3 years that have been announced or just launched. I mean, again, he's tearing up a lot of the parks right now for the better. We think, or we expect them to be. The one thing I really sought out, like a lot of the stuff was like lip service type of stuff, generally like just happy go feely type of stuff, right? And I'm not saying he's lying or he seems genuine, right? But he knows how to sound genuine, and that's why a lot of people call him a politician. I don't think he's as a slimy politician as people kind of put that.
No, he's just
he's
well
good at
put together, and he knows how to do it the right way. Yeah.
And he doesn't stumble over his words. He does a very good job. And I think he wants the parks. I think he has that spark of wanting the parks to be, and he's also a good businessman too. So he knows how to pay for the parks as well. So the one thing that stood out to me though in his things is he called himself a risk taker, which I really appreciate because I think that's what we need because we haven't had a real risk taker in the parks area for quite some time. I mean, Bob Iger was a little bit of a risk taker buying Marvel, buying Lucasfilm, buying Fox and all this other type of stuff. All those acquisitions are certainly risky. But before that, like I think the last risk taker, I don't know if you want to call Eisner a risk taker at all. But like the last risk taker was really Walt, I want to say, right? Like, I mean, he risked building the first part.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, he risked he risked everything multiple times for sure. Like, so nobody's going to be on that level of risk probably, but Iger definitely took things in new directions and stuff like that, which I think was a bit of a risk, but.
Yeah. I mean, I think a risk taker is good because if you're not a risk taker, that means you're just sticking IP everywhere. You're doing bland, rides that, are, shopped in different like groups to say, do you like this? Do you like, I mean, like we need some things that are risky. And I think that's what makes the parks fun. It's like trying new things. I mean, I guess Bob Chapek putting a $1 billion Star Cruiser hotel.
Yeah. I don't know if that was, I don't know if that was 100% his call or that was in motion due to Iger or what, but that was probably the last real big risk I think the company took.
Yeah, and again, like a lot of the stuff they're doing is risky. I like that. I'd rather risk and fail than be slow and boring, I guess is what I say. So I'm excited by that, and I think more broadly, everybody's had hot takes about what Josh is going to do in the parks and all these other things because we're all parks focused here. I don't think anything is drastically going to change, right? There might be, a different path we take down, but like a thing that still was going to happen. Like there's still going to be, a build in Epcot in let's say 5 years, right? When it's turned for Epcot, but we don't know, like maybe the risk is we went down path A instead of path B and it's the same kind of ride. But like, I think we've seen Josh in the parks. And it's not like you can just automatically say, oh, that 60 billion, it's now going to be 100 billion. Like that just doesn't come out of nowhere.
But at least I think we also know that it's not going to get cut to 20 billion.
Taken away,
like
right?
That. Yeah. He's not backtracking on the rivers of America and stuff like that. So,
yeah. So I'm excited to see what's to come because I don't think anybody trusted Chapek to do whatever it was people thought he might or might not do. Iger's been there forever, so we kind of know who Iger is. So I'm kind of excited. I'm really excited to see what Dana does on the entertainment side, specifically like with properties like Marvel and Star Wars or tentpole, IPs. Because with Kathleen Kennedy gone from Lucasfilm or retiring from Lucasfilm, I'm going to be really interested in see the direction that they take and see if the quality kind of comes up over there. But we won't know for many, many years from now. So we'll keep tabs on that, obviously. Do you have any other major takeaways from Josh? Is it just like happy, let's see what happens type of thing?
I think, it's predictable. I think he's come across well since there. There's reports that when he was told he was like actually crying and stuff like that, which, again, is it, a little bit play acting or is it genuine? It's hard to tell, but he seems like he genuinely cares about the company and is excited to have this role.
I mean, I think the toughest person in the world finds out that they're going to be the head of the largest media company in the world ever to exist. That I would cry too.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's I'm glad he's emotional, right? Like, that I think he's a human person. He's not a robot, and I kind of like that. I mean, let's see where it goes.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Bob Iger sent out a note to D23, kind of thanking them as, the fans of Disney and stuff like that for his time. But then he talked a little bit about Josh, and the part that kind of jumped out to me is that he says he, meaning Josh, has deep respect for our legacy, genuine love for our fans, and an abundance of optimism about the future. He understands that honoring what came before and building what comes next are not competing ideas, but inseparable ones. And I think that, obviously now he needs to execute on those ideas, but I think that's the best path forward for Disney. It's not ripping up what happened before, but it's also not being willing to change anything, right? It's like understanding your legacy, building on that, but also adapting towards the future. And we're seeing that with what some of the things he's saying about Fortnite and stuff like that, whatever that's going to turn into, but he's certainly embracing and open to.
You had a whole thing about Fortnite.
I know, I'm not going to get into that now, but so yeah, that's it. The only last thing you were talking about, Dana Walden, I'm really glad they retained her and elevated her and stuff like that. That was kind of one of my big worries, was that whoever got named, if it wasn't her, that she would leave the company. And I think having it's not quite co-heads, but somebody who's kind of running the company with more of a parks background, and then a clear number two who's more in the entertainment space, I think makes a lot of sense. With just the size and the scale of Disney, it's hard for one person to do all of that.
Yeah, that was. Of course, my Bluetooth runs out of batteries as I'm talking. Even though I'm charging. Yeah, I think with Dana Waldman, yes, absolutely. I think that somebody that's experienced in the movies, well known, well respected in that business, will make sure that there's no waves like what happened when Jake Beck came.
Exactly. Yep. Next news item is that we learned that Frozen Ever After will reopen with the updated animatronics, so with losing the projection faces, on February 12th. So this coming Thursday. So it might be open by the time you're listening to this. And in time for winter break, which I know is a pretty busy week down there. So everybody who is from the Northeast that's going down for a winter break for some warmer weather, you will also get to experience the updated version of Frozen. It does seem that in addition to replacing the animatronic heads, they took this opportunity to do kind of, lighting and set updates and stuff like that. Nothing changed, I don't think. It's just kind of freshening up and stuff like that. So it should look like a whole refreshed ride, not just that the heads were changed out. So for our predictions on this, I said it would be down 3 weeks. You said 2 weeks. It was actually 17 days. So I think you were closer on that one. So.
Are we playing Price is Right rules, right? I didn't go over.
You didn't go over, so you definitely won. Yeah, so you're good.
Perfect.
The one question I had with this is, when you go down in the summer, is riding this updated version of it going to be a must-do for you, or just kind of if the wait's not crazy, we'll give it a ride? Or?
Well, I mean, if you recall, we do achievements now when we go on a trip, so that was a big hit. One of the achievements is going to be doing all the new things, right? So if it's new, we're going to attempt to do it. The only thing that's new used to be new at Disney World that we haven't done is Mickey's Philharmagic. We never got to on our last trip.
Yep.
So that was updated 3 years ago.
I think so.
So yeah, it's not new anymore, but it's one thing that we haven't done yet. But no, I mean, it's going to be, I definitely want to see them because all the new animatronics are absolutely fantastic. And we haven't seen any of the new style ones, right? Or at least I haven't seen Zootopia, right? So the Zootopia has some of the more
I think
latest ones.
I guess some of the ones on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the newer style.
Right. I forgot about that. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Never mind. I'm completely wrong.
Speaking of updates at the parks, Conservation Station will close at the end of the day, February 22nd. So pretty much right after winter break, to start the prep for the Bluey and Bingo meet and greet that will start this summer. So the one thing that kind of jumped out at me was, I know this isn't the most popular part of Animal Kingdom currently, but it was a place for people to go and do the wilderness adventure stuff. They just closed all of Dino Land. Now they're closing this part. It seems like a really minimal park at this point, right?
I mean, they probably know how many people actually go.
Yeah,
on that train.
People wise, I'm sure it's not that much. Yeah, but I didn't know if now without Dino Land, would some of those people well, let's check out that area we haven't done in a while, and now they can't do that area either. I don't know.
I guarantee you, if you ask 65% of the people, you don't even know that train exists. In that park,
that's fair, because you have to look for the station. It's not obvious,
and then it's hidden in the trees too. You have to stumble across it. Here's what interests me, right? So we watched. My kids like watching TPM vids, which is like a Disney. I don't know if you know what it is. It's a Disney related content channel, and it's a well produced countdown type, channel, right? It's not podcasting. It's here are the top 10 new things for Disney in 2026 or summer of 2026. So they listed all the different things. My kids got excited. And when it came down to Bluey being at the Animal Kingdom, my 8-year-old jumped up and started cheering. Because Bluey's big big again in our household. Like we watched all of them. We were watching them every day. Then for like 6 months, we were kind of watching other things. Now all of a sudden we're watching them all over again. And my kids are like super excited to get their pictures taken and all this other stuff. So again, this is another thing that we've never done. We've never went to the conservation station before. So last year we were going to do it, but then it was 150 degrees outside. So we're like, we got to get out of here.
So we don't have an opening date for that, but I certainly hope it will be open in time for your.
I mean, they
trip.
mentioned it as part of Cool Kids Summer, though, right? It was in
yeah, that's true.
Connection to that?
Yeah, I mean, officially it's only just said this summer, but yeah, it was definitely talked about in relation to that. So it should be open in time for the earlier.
I mean, if it's for the summer, and it's not open by the 4th of July. I mean, it's not for summer. It would be late summer at that point, I would think.
The other note that they noted on here is that when Affection section reopens, which is the petting zoo part, it will now feature animals native to Australia, giving guests the chance to affectionately enjoy animals native to Bluey's home, which I think is pretty cool. They did say all the animals that are currently there, which is mostly just like goats and sheep and pigs and stuff like that, will be rehomed following that last day of operation on the February 22nd. So that's kind of a neat thing. Like, I don't know how much you'll be able to like touch and pet an armadillo or whoever's going to be there, but it's kind of neat that it's bringing new animals into the park and actually for guests to engage with it.
Yep, I like that.
And the last quick news item, you had brought this one up, Jason, is that I think it was in conjunction when they talked about the Muppet Show being on Disney Plus, but they mentioned that they're moving, we call it Imagineering, to Disney Plus. It had been on YouTube. And we thought that was kind of an interesting thing. It always seems interesting, like what they decide. And it's not just Disney. It's like everybody seems to want content everywhere. So it's like, well, what goes on their streaming thing? What goes on YouTube? What goes on, Twitter or whatever, or Facebook Live or whatever. So I don't know if this is the first step of moving more things to Disney Plus and off of YouTube as far as like premiering things. Or if is this just one of those things that they found like kind of kicked it off on YouTube so more people could see it. Now people that know what it is, maybe they'll seek it out if they were enjoying it on Disney Plus. I don't know.
I mean, I have two thoughts. One thought I have, this is why I kind of brought this up, is Disney Plus and Hulu are merging. There's also an announcement that there's going to be more vertical content on Disney Plus, which is essentially just like YouTube Shorts or like TikTok Shorts, right? People scroll through them and just kind of like quick hits of media. I don't think there's going to be long form vertical content.
Probably not. No.
They talked about like user generated content. I don't even know what that actually means, but Disney's trying to create a platform that you can also interact with and also view content with. So I don't know if this is like part of that. So it'd be interesting to watch how that new part of the content grows. Because right now Netflix is the king, and it's just you just watch a bunch of shows and movies and stuff like that. Disney Plus and Hulu are obviously the same thing. But in order to like right now, the actual streaming king is YouTube itself, right? It's got billions of views around the worldwide, that type of thing. There has been no other real content platform that has both produced content and like user generated kind of content, like at least nothing that's like the scale of like Netflix or Disney Plus. So this should be interesting to see if this is them starting to put YouTube content on there. Now, my other thought process, Phil, and let me know which one you think it's more likely, that we call it Imagineering. Imagineering wanted to produce these videos and they had nowhere else to put them. And they didn't want to bother doing like cross corporate red tape to get something put on Disney Plus.
It's just easier to get it on YouTube.
Dump it on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
They're
I mean, that's certainly possible for sure. It is interesting though, when you mentioned about the vertical content and kind of wanting to make Disney Plus something that people are more likely to open up on their phones, like for a quick view, which is what a lot of people use YouTube for now. And then with some of the other quick things, like they've had like Imagineering's like behind the scenes stuff, or like when they did
the Instagram reels and stuff.
Exactly. The Instagram reels. Well, those types of things now go on to Disney Plus as well, if they're trying to make that more of a, for lack of a better word, a social media engagement platform, not just the streaming thing. So
I think it'd be, because right now, like I never open up Disney Plus on my phone unless I'm traveling and I want to watch like a show.
Yeah, on the plane or something.
Everybody should go watch Wonder Man. That's a fantastic show, by the way. But yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool. And then they could cut up clips of, we're going to talk about the Muppet Show. I think the Muppet Show is perfect for like quick hit like content like that. That's like 3 minutes long, like a YouTube short. I'll sit there. If they had, let's say that they go ahead and they clip all the old like Muppet Show content, like you might get me in a Muppet hole where I sit there for like an hour flipping through all the different random like Muppet, skits. in vertical content. I don't know if you can condense it to vertical content, but it'd be kind of cool to kind of check out. I don't know. I kind of like that idea. The more I can get off of like YouTube and see something that's more curated to my taste, or equality, I should say too.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really cool.
Yep. That sounds good. So that's it for the news. Did you want to go through the construction updates?
Yes, the construction updates. We got some really interesting ones. I'll start with like the least interesting, and we can kind of go save Magic Kingdom for last. So I'll start at Animal Kingdom. The signs were removed at Tropical America. So walking over the bridge going into Dinoland USA, that whole like top part is gone, which lent like a really interesting view. Did you notice, or is that something like the sight lines walking into the area? Did you notice that at all when you're like, to me, it like really stood out to me.
It did jump out to me a little, that it definitely feels a little open, and that how that was kind of blocking the view, and what is it the view going to be going forward. It does seem like there's still going to be some sort of entrance into Plaza Esplanada. And then there'll be that reveal when you go around the corner and see the casita and stuff like that. But it will be interesting to see what that view is down that pathway. Into
well, I mean,
the area.
like down that pathway, you could see the steel of the building going on over there, right? So like if there's no like major entrance that's kind of tunneling you in like that, you might be a
you definitely should be able to see that.
In.
And that should be the I think more the background mountaintop and stuff like that. Like
right, because it's kind of like the left-hand side of the building.
Yeah,
but like it's something in the distance that should draw you in that
That's
direction.
true. Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And it'll be interesting to see how much you can see Indiana Jones in the distance, because I'm almost certain that's going to be just as popular as the Encanto ride. And because if you don't do anything, it's like you can miss the right hand entrance to
sometimes.
walk up there,
you
right?
have to kind of look for it a little, because it is kind of down a path to get to that the show building and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see what sight lines are going to show up for that, because I always love like how the parks merge together. Next update for Tropical America, we just mentioned, roof is going up on the Encanto building. They're starting to close the first part that was started to go up a month or so ago, and then like all the different stages. So if you go and see like the D23 kind of like, or no, Destination D kind of like model, was it Destination, or did they show that at D23? I can't remember. One of those places where they showed like basically the model of the whole land. Like you can see how like the show building has like 3 tiers to it. With behind it, you can start seeing now the 3 tiers, which is I think is kind of cool. So all that's framing up. So that's it for Animal Kingdom. We already talked about Frozen Ever After and some of the other refurbs there, but that was on our update. And then last, Magic Kingdom. So the first one, there's more scrims going up on the Haunted Mansion. Like they're really surrounding that thing.
Yeah.
So we speculated like a week ago that a lot like as the skims started surrounding the whole building, we thought it was just like normal maintenance. Like they're just fixing up the outside just because it's going to be a little bit more visible eventually, that sort of thing, even though this shouldn't be open for another 2 years or so anyway. So we're really curious how it's prepping. Is there anything with all those scrims? Is there anything that's more telling, Phil, or are we still kind of on target?
I still think it's that. And there was, I think, one blog Mickey articles that they were kind of asking around a little bit, and every indication they've got is that it's just that. It's the normal maintenance on it and stuff like that.
So the next one is there's some more permits going on for Carousel of Progress. This one was like fire protection permits and stuff like that. So nothing like major or big, but it's like, okay, this building's starting to get some attention.
And I do believe it was filed by Walt Disney Imagineering. Yes. So it did kind of signal that like, okay, it feels like it's in the process is at least starting. It doesn't indicate that any sort of time frame for when it's going to close, but at least they're starting the process.
Yeah, exactly. So they're starting like, okay, we need to get a couple things done before we start doing some other things, or like some of these things needed updating before we kind of open it up again. So because it basically tells me that something should be starting within the next 3 or 4 months, maybe, if I had to guess.
Say around there, yeah.
Whatever, something like that. And the last but not least is Piston Peak. We can actually start seeing some construction going on that is not just dirt moving around and demo. So if the pictures from, this is by Blog Mickey, took some of the pictures. If you start at the base of like Big Thunder Mountain and kind of sweeping around towards the Haunted Mansion, but not all the way around to it. So if I had to guess, it kind of stopped like maybe right around Country Bears or so, roughly.
Yeah, or a little further, but around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to pull up the pictures real quick. So, we're looking at, why are the pictures never where I want them to be? Yeah, it's about like it's about halfway between where the docks, the riverboat dock was, and where the bend was coming around from by like Tiana's or so.
Yeah,
that's how I'm kind of picturing it here. But yeah, about halfway there. But anyway, it's all concrete forms, Phil. So what do you think this is? I know everybody thinks it is, but what do you think it is? Or do you?
I don't know. My first thought was, because it looks kind of like a path, and my first thought was, is this like the race bed for where the ride vehicles are going to go, and then the mountain will go around it and stuff like that? Are they building something for where the ride system is going to go? I think it was Black Mickey was speculating that it's going to be for the riverbed for the new stream or whatever that's going to go on. I know other people were speculating it could just be the start of the foundation for some of the structures and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's got an interesting shape to it. It's certainly, I guess I could see why they thought it could be like a riverbed, but my first thought was that it's like the ride.
It's windy.
System. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of, there's a bend to it. And it looks like there's also the picture I'm looking at from Blog Mickey. They're standing like basically directly across from the Haunted Mansion, right? And they're kind of looking down. Does it look like to you, Phil, that it's kind of also slanted towards the person with the camera? I don't know if you have it open right now.
I don't have it open, and that didn't jump out to me when I was looking at him, but it's possible. Yeah.
See if you could open up, see if because I'll talk through other things. So,
Okay.
like a lot of people speculate that it's like a stream or something else like that. I personally think that's way too low for water, right? Because that looks like it's. I mean, if that was going to be the bed of a stream, there's going to be a lot of work coming up in there, and that would be a deep stream. That would be like 5 or 6 feet deep at that point, and I don't think Disney's building a 5 or 6 foot deep stream, right? Because even the river wasn't that deep in most places. So. I don't know. I think it looks cool. Did you have it open yet?
I'm opening it now.
I'm filibustering until you get it open here.
I know.
If you look at all the way, maybe I should have just linked the actual thing in chat. Maybe I should have done that. That would have been easier. Because we are a podcast and we're doing that. That link does not even matter. Don't even look like that in chat. But yeah, to me it looks like
just waiting for the
I didn't
photo.
even
I have
think
the
about
article
it, but
opening.
Like it's not working. So I mean, like it being like the vehicle path is a good idea. I think it will go down, but like it's pretty close to the border. I think like of where the cars might go, because you're always talking about they're going to have.
Which is why they thought it was going to be like the riverbed or something like that, because that's where it seems like it is. The stream is in the concept art, but I don't know.
To me, it looks like it's slanted down. Like it could be a place where the track is eventually going to go, because it looks like it bends where the sharp turn embankment is. So you would want the outer part of the turn to be higher than the inside. So I don't know. All you're looking is rebar and wood. So I mean, like it's very hard to speculate on what it actually is. But I thought that was interesting.
It's a lot of speculation based on not much, but yep.
But that's it. That's all the construction updates for the week. I thought this one was the most interesting. I suspect that as the weather clears up out of the winter, this might start going up, or at least more progress might start going up pretty fast, like foundation stuff, pipe. And at that point, then we could start guessing where these buildings are actually going to go, whether or not these facilities are like, water collection areas. Like there's got to be a room that they got to build. Somebody on WDO and Magic made this point, like that long rectangle building that was like kind of parallel with Big Thunder, right? In that direction there, that it was probably going to be a water pump room, because you have all the streams and fountains and geysers and stuff like that. You got to have all that infrastructure. If you remember watching Journey of Water at Epcot, there's a huge
they have a whole big
facility,
thing right next to it. Yeah.
So they got
That's a
to.
good
This
point.
is going to be more water than that. So this is they got to have huge stations for that. So maybe that's a lot of that stuff is going up for it. But those are construction updates. Again, a lot of progress going on, a lot of cool pictures out there. So recommend checking out all the normal places. And I can't wait for the next bio reconstruct segment. He was in Epcot today, I think. So
okay,
we have to wait. He was on the ground though. He was on the ground taking pictures of seagulls on monorail tracks and stuff like that. So it was kind of fun. All right, so on to the next one. You are the big Muppet fan here between the two of us, and the Muppet Show debuted this week. Was it Wednesday that it came out?
Yes, it was the 4th. There was a preview for like the D23 Gold Theater on Tuesday the 3rd, but the official release was on the 4th. It seemed to come out in the morning on Disney Plus, and then there was an airing on ABC at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So yeah, it is back. It is a new. I guess it's considered like I've seen it referred to as like a backdoor pilot. The idea is that it's referred to as a special, but people are thinking that if it did well, it could lead into a full series season starting up as well. And it seems to be doing well. It's definitely off to strong starts from a rating standpoint. Rotten Tomatoes, for as much as people stock weight you put into that. It has ratings from both critics and users at 98% fresh, so that's pretty strong.
Huge, yep.
And then it actually did, for that ABC special at 9 p.m., it had 3.1 million viewers, which made it the biggest show of the night on network TV in the 18 to 49 demographic.
Which is like the demographic you want. Like
right.
That's, I all I have for like, before we get into kind of the details of the review. So I watched it with the family. I waited. I didn't want to watch it on my own. So I waited that night for the whole family to gather around. And my kids were being kids and enjoying it and laughing. But my wife is a bigger Muppet fan than I am. She loves the Muppets. And immediately as she came down, because she was about 5 minutes late, and she came down, she immediately started laughing. As she was sitting down. It was a hit with the whole family. So what was your initial take when you watched this film? Because obviously it was a massive success.
Yeah.
We don't have the viewing numbers on Disney Plus, but network television was crazy. So
I think it was ranking like in the top like couple on Disney Plus. I think it was just behind Bluey and maybe one other thing, but it's in the top 10 in all the countries and stuff. So it seems to be doing well, but yeah, we don't have the numbers. So I didn't actually get to watch it the debut day because we wanted to watch it as a family and that sort of thing. But two of my kids were way too delayed in starting their homework, and they need my wife to sit next to them when they do that and stuff like that. So it was like, okay, well, it's not going to happen tonight. So we watched it the next day. At that point, I had already heard, a lot of positive reviews. So I was like optimistic going into it, but there's so much going on in the world and stuff like that. It just felt like a half hour where you didn't have to think about any of that.
And it was just nice.
And it was just nice and fun. And I smiled, and I thought they had the right beats to it. It was the right type of humor. It wasn't too kiddie. There were a couple of jokes that definitely hopefully went over some kids' heads. But
yes, absolutely.
But the music, it just felt like a new version of the old show. It was the right mix of like musical numbers and guest stars and the
tempo of the show I thought was really good. Like, I haven't watched the old Muppet Show in quite a while, but like I remember like the bits that they did were a little bit longer. Like this one seemed like a little bit shorter, where it was just like, especially without commercials, it was just like one thing after another, and it was a good amount of time where it wasn't like TikTok-y, like boom, 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 but it was like a nice skit, and then here's the next one, and then here's the next one, and it just fantastic pacing throughout. I thought my TV was broken with the opening number with Sabrina Carpenter, where like she was quote unquote lip syncing she was lip syncing it, but like, is she trying to lip sync this, or is she just like, I mean, like, it was kind of funny, but like, to me, the humor was perfect, like you mentioned, and it was just the Muppets, and I'm happy that we're not getting like, no hate towards the people I like, but like Muppet Babies, like I could, it was cartoony and whatever. I like different iterations of like Muppet movies, but like I don't like watching movies at this point of the Muppets. I want like good adult humor mixed with kid humor. That's something, a nice half hour. It was like what, 33 minutes long?
Yeah, I think 32 it was listed. I didn't watch it on ABC, so I don't know how long, if they cut things to fit into a half hour, or if they stretched it out to an hour.
Right.
But on Disney Plus, it was listed as 32 minutes.
Yeah, so I think it was the perfect amount of time. Like, I think like an hour would have been too long at that point.
Yeah,
but like it was
especially
perfect.
with, like you said, how quick it was going. Like to like it didn't feel like it was short, but it flowed and it was good. Yeah.
And here's my hope for the future. I hope that this was inexpensive to produce, that they could put like an old school season together of like 20 plus episodes, right? It airs from like the fall to the end of the spring. And it's not like, here is 8 to 10 episodes, and then we're going to wait like a year and a half before another.
And we're dumping them all at once. And
I think this would be very awesome as like a 30-minute segment or a 30-minute show on a weekly basis, like every Wednesday, whatever night to decide to put it on. And that's what you get every week. You've got a new Muppet Show to watch, and you can kind of like Saturday Night Live. Like I think that would be like a perfect format for it. So I hope that they end up doing it that way, and not like 8 episodes and then a year between them.
Yeah, no, I hope it. I mean, it certainly seems like it's gotten done well enough to get something else. I hope there's at minimum like multiple specials a year, but I would love, full season. 22 episodes would be great. Obviously it's great to have, it also gives more exposure to different guest stars to get to different audiences and stuff. I definitely talked to a few people who like weren't super familiar with Sabrina Carpenter, but thought she did a good job and that sort of thing. Like, obviously they knew who she was, but it's not like they listened to her music and stuff. So they thought she fit in perfectly with the Muppets and did did the role properly, where you take it seriously and you don't treat them as puppets and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was great. I already see a lot of people putting lists together of who they want as other guest stars and stuff like that.
Good.
So yeah, the only other thing is I did see some comments. Not surprising that Kermit does sound. If you haven't listened to the Muppets in quite a while, Matt Vogel's been doing the voice for about 10 years, but there hasn't been a lot of Muppet stuff that's done well in the last 10 years.
He sounded good to me. I don't really notice the difference, to be honest with you.
It's fun. The interesting thing is he actually sounds closer to Jim Henson's voice. It's just so many people, the movies they grew up with, it was Steve Whitmer's voice, and he does it like a little higher pitched and stuff. So this sounds different than that. I noticed it like when the introduction, but by like say the second act, I didn't notice it at all.
Kermit,
it was just Kermit. Yeah. So I did see some comments about that, but I think that's some people that are just kind of sticklers and want to point out things and stuff like that. So, but overall, it was like
enjoy your Muppets,
overly
folks.
positive. Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm eager for it. Like, I mean, I remember watching the Muppets growing up, and obviously, with Muppet Vision closing, that was we went down because you're the super fan of it, and like to me, I could take or leave the Muppets. I think like watching this and enjoying it because they did a special like a decade ago or so, like in the mid-teens or early teens, with another kind of iteration of the Muppet Show that didn't really catch on. So I hope this one's to stay. The family liked it, and we need more family television that's just not like the kids watching cartoons and us just watching them with them. But like I think a show like this, our whole family can enjoy
exactly, for sure.
And it's not like another thing like Percy Jackson. Our family really enjoys watching that, but like sometimes we don't get a week where we can sit down and watch things, and then we have to remember what happened last season and this season. This is you could just sit down.
Yeah, there's not a lot
and
of
enjoy
long-term
it.
stories.
There's no long term. You know the characters and you have fun with them. So I think that's really cool. The next thing I want to talk about is I brought this up, and then I realized you already had this in the show notes. So one really cool thing that got put out is Joe Rohde talked about the Tropical Americas and the I guess the final closure of everything in Dinoland USA. And you have the quote up, Phil, I think.
Yeah, I have the whole Instagram.
Then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so Joe Rohde posted to Instagram, and so this is Joe's words. I'm just going to read it because I don't think it's too long, and it's pretty interesting the way all the points he brings up. It says, "For all my posting about the late great Dinoland, I do want to make something clear. Up until the day of my retirement, my team and I tried for 15 years to get a tropical America's land into this park, and many such design attempts involved gutting Dinoland to do it. This particular version continues certain of those motivations, but postdates my career, and I've only been able to see it as a consultant now and again, but I congratulate the team on finally being able to lock a deal, which I was not. The underlying business has changed in all those years, so this version is a response to those new realities, just as the previous versions were responding to theirs. It is not my place to steal the thunder from the team by leaking, hinting, or otherwise giving away what that design is. It is theirs to reveal as they choose. But I can vouch for the team itself, some of whom I have known for decades as veterans of Disney's Animal Kingdom, and others whom I've come to know more recently. They are excellent. The level of research involved is excellent. The sophistication of the detail is excellent. Their commitment to the vision of the park is unwavering. And just as it always is, the work is hard. The path to excellence is neither smooth nor straight nor level, but these Imagineers are devoted to the task. Parks exist to create memories. Dinoland created memories. Those memories still exist, and they are the true product, not the property itself. The new land will create more memories, and they too will be treasured. It may have to find its own audience, and that audience may be distinct from dino aficionados. But as for depth and quality, it is there. For example, if you take one look at even the impressionistic early representation of the Maya pyramid on the D23 model or the marketing rendering, and you are a fan of pre-Columbian cultures, well, if you know, you know. So I don't know, but okay. I'm assuming he knows what he's talking about, that there's, accurate details and stuff. And it's just a sign of the level of detail and accuracy they're going for. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there to unpack.
One of the first things that popped out was that he's been trying to do this for 15 years before he retired. He retired in 2021.
Yeah.
So that puts that 15 years at 2006. The park opened in 1998, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's after 8 years, he's thinking about how do I improve it? And as we talked about previously, and other people have talked all the time, is Dinoland USA was like a late, like, hey, we don't have enough money, build something, and here's how much money you have, right? So that's why it was like a carnival. That's why it was all asphalt. That's why it wasn't what you would expect from like a Disney like land. It always looked quote unquote cheap because that's how much money they had, right?
Well, especially the rides, right? The rides, not dinosaur, but the carnival rides were like off the shelf or whatever.
And Triceratops spin, right? So the fact that like just soon after that he's been trying to get it done tells me a couple different things. One, Tropical Americas was an idea that never died at WDI, so they kind of resurrected it and kind of put on current day spin and popularity. Two, they were never satisfied with Dinoland USA. We talked about this last week when we were talking about the closure of Dinosaur, where almost anything that's been in the parks for 28 years at this point, right? Is that you can be nostalgic for anything, right? And Joe Rody mentioned that, right? He didn't want to step on anybody's toes. I think he probably would have said this a lot earlier, but like I don't think he wanted to kind of say, "Hey, Tropical Americas is great, Dinoland is terrible. I've been trying to replace it for 15 years, right? Whatever." So he gave the land its time and its grace and allowed it to close. And then posting this now, I think it's really cool to know that, like, hey, don't poo-poo Tropical Americas. This is something that's like in the works or have plans for by both veteran Imagineers. So like that's code word for like you can trust, right? Like that's like this, because there's so many topics online and no one's stranger to this where like, oh, current day Imagineers are terrible. They don't know what they're doing. That kind of nonsense. So I think this is Joe Rody kind of trying to silence all those other people. Make sure you respect the work that's going on because it's in good hands. So that's kind of what I took from that. But like, what were your key takeaways?
I think a lot of it was that I think he was trying to smooth things over and not like insincerely or anything like that. I think he believes it. And I think he's excited about the project. I agree with your point about mentioning the older Imagineers that are involved and how this wasn't a new idea is important, because it could come off as like, oh, they just told the new guys, like, you got to come up with some way to get Encanto in here. And this is what they came up with. It's like, no, this general idea has been around for a while. And this was the opportunity to fit in. Like, yes, business changes and we have to fit IP in now. And this was an opportunity, and they were able to put those pieces together and get it done, right? They're doing it. I wasn't able to do it. So I thought that was good. And then the last paragraph kind of jumped out at me, just where he's saying like how parks exist to create memories, and Dinoland created memories. That doesn't invalidate your memories that you had from that. Those still exist. And yes, the parks change, and this land might not resonate with you, but it will resonate with some park guests, and they'll create new memories there. And the park, just that continued evolution and stuff like that. And that, the parks change and the guests change with it.
I mean, it's this cycle of life. I mean, that's what the whole Epcot, finale is at the end of the day. It's growing old and welcoming the new, that type of thing. So I think everybody needs to accommodate. And I want to completely do a 180 conversation here for a second, Phil. So you mentioned we have Encanto and the IP in the parks and all this other stuff. Going back to the Josh D'Amaro as the CEO, do you think the IP mandate stays? Or do you think I have one opinion, but what is your opinion on Josh with the IP mandate?
It's kind of funny you bring that up, because when you're talking about Josh saying he's a risk taker, one of the risks I thought of in the back of my head was like, does that mean he'll try to do something without IP? I still think he's the CEO of the whole company. The brand is the biggest value that the company has, the IP that they have. So I still think that's going to be 100% the default, but maybe he will be a little bit more open that it isn't just IP or don't even talk to me. I think you'd need to have a really compelling case about how does this build on the brand beyond this attraction or whatever to get it done. But maybe he would be more willing to take a risk on something, or at least something that wasn't such a proven commodity. Maybe somebody comes up with like a really cool concept, or whether it's for the parks or for a remake of like a lesser movie, like redoing the Black Cauldron or something, something like that, where it's like, that's more of a risk than just remaking Tangled, right? Which everybody knows is going to be good and sell tickets and stuff like that. But is it really advancing the plot of anything?
All right, I just accidentally turned off my mic.
Okay.
What I was saying was, I think I mean, I know you're not a champion of the live movie remakes, but I think Disney is a big enough company to do a lot of different projects at the same time.
Yeah.
I go back to my original question about IP. I think Josh will continue putting IP in the parks because I think that's what drives attendance to the parks and what most people want. But I think, like you said, if a good idea comes across his desk, I mean, I don't know if he's as CEO, he's going to be like checking the boxes of like everything that goes in the parks, but capital investment of that size, he's going to be part of it somewhere in the process. So I think the place to look for a non-IP ride is the next land that they build that's not like a Toy Story land or a Star Wars land, right? It's going to be like a Tropical America's mixed, a setting that's not IP driven, I guess. So I'm curious about that. Do you think we'll never know, but if Tropical Americas was being designed now, like let's say as Josh D'Amaro is now fully in his CEO position, that Encanto and Indiana Jones would be the two IPs, or will one of them be an IP and one of them would be an original? It's
an interesting thought because there is the carousel, which is supposed to have wood carving of some of the characters and stuff like that, but that's not really super IP. So there's kind of an element that's not crazy IP. I think the whole Indiana Jones ride, if it wasn't Indiana Jones, it would probably still be almost the same ride, right? It's just Indiana Jones is the IP they're attaching to it, but it's like an adventure ride of going into a temple and that sort of thing that doesn't have to be Indiana Jones. So maybe something like that would be not have it. I could also see, there's always been talk about what are they going to retheme to like Tower of Terror to. Maybe now they'd be more open to like, okay, it doesn't have to be Twilight Zone. We'll just retheme it to something non-IP. Or I could see small opportunities like that. I would still say we fully expect anything big to be IP driven, but maybe there can be some other elements where it's not quite as IP-ish.
So speaking of IP and Josh D'Amaro and the Muppets, Josh was quoted, I guess, saying that you need to bring more Muppets to the parks or expect more Muppets. I forget what the exact phrasing was, but it was like the gist was there's going to be more Muppets in the park. So that's what he wants. So outside of Rock and Roller Coaster and stuff like for like Jollywood Nights, where it's like some of these like, after hour events, do you think we'll see more Muppets in the parks in the next, let's say 5 to 8 years, assuming the Muppet Show, takes off and is pretty.
Yeah. Assuming they view the success of this Muppet Show as something to create more Muppet shows for, I definitely think we'll see something else. I don't know if that means we'll see a whole Muppet Land like we were supposed to originally have in Hollywood Studios or anything like that. You never know. But maybe, instead of only putting Muppets 3D on Apple Vision Pro, maybe now they are going to think about a way to recreate it in a physical form. I was also wondering just little things like, might they up the budget a little bit more and on the update to Rock and Roller Coaster and add some more elements like thematically. Like I know some people are wanting like animatronic Waldorf and Stadler like over the launch or something like that. If that's like wasn't going to happen, but now that the Muppets seem to be bigger, like can they get a little bump in the budget?
I think it's too soon for that.
Yeah.
I think it's I should say too late for that because I think everything is permitted and ready to go.
Yeah, that's true.
But you never know. There's always hope. There's always hope. Next is you're going to be in Paris in like a week, right?
Yeah.
Exactly in a week, right? You're traveling next Friday.
Yeah, Friday night we land on Saturday. So yeah, a week from right now we will be in Paris. Yeah.
So what are your last minute thoughts? Are you ready to go? Are you planning?
So it's funny because I have this work trip coming up, and it's actually it's only for like a day, but it's to Toronto, and so it's like I got travel and passports and stuff like that. So it's like hard to like think about that trip when I have this trip.
Like, yeah, you got to get through that first. Yeah.
But we've been thinking about it. We've been doing a lot of last minute booking of tours and things like that, and some more restaurants and stuff like that. So we'll have 4 days, 4 full days in 4 nights actually in Paris proper, and then 3 nights over at Disneyland Paris. I've been doing a lot of sort of like watching videos of people touring Disneyland Paris, watching like people eating snacks and restaurant reviews and stuff like that, just to kind of get my last minute list of like, okay, these are the things I want to make sure I've been doing. I've been checking the app to see what wait times have been like and stuff like that. So it's kind of like all those last minute things to make sure I'm as prepared as possible.
Any big takes on the waits and the lines and stuff like that? Is it like on par with the Disney park? Is it Longer, shorter? What do
Yeah,
what do
so
you
I'd say this is their slow period, and it seems like on the weekdays, and our 2 full days are Thursday and Friday. So I'm hoping it'll be a little lighter. So that's what it seems like it currently is. Like if I looked at Wednesday or Thursday, the biggest rides got up to say 45-minute wait or something like
That's
that.
not bad.
On the weekends, though, when you check, it's like you see more like 75 minutes for some things and stuff like that. So it's still probably a little bit lighter, but I think if you go in summer, there's a couple really popular rides and they do get upwards of 2 hours and stuff. So we're from a ride line capacity standpoint, we're definitely going at a good time. So
You've got a list here of must do's. So I was going to ask this anyway, but you have a nice list here. So what for you? What are your must do's and why are they must do's?
Yeah. So I put together a list of must do's, a couple things with rides and then shows and character meets and snack foods and stuff like that. These are rides that and things that if I don't get them done, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed. But obviously you can't predict the future. You don't know what's going to happen and stuff like that. Specifically with the rides though, I think those are ones, especially I have them in tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 are ones where I think, I would be willing to buy because they have a different fast pass system over there where you can buy like a bundle for the day, or you can just buy them like per attraction. So the tier 1s at least are ones where it's like, if we're on like day 3 or something and we hadn't got on them, I would seriously consider buying the,
I mean, you're on a new continent, or a different continent. So yeah, spend the money.
Exactly like that. Yeah. So the tier 1 rides for us is their version of Big Thunder Mountain, which is really cool. It's actually on the island in the middle of the rivers of America and stuff like that. It's generally considered the best version of that ride. So definitely want to get on that. Phantom Manor, which is their version of the Haunted Mansion. It's got a very different storyline and is actually supposed to be quite a bit scarier. So we'll see how that goes. And then the one ride that's in the Studios Park is called Crush's Coaster. That's probably the one my kids are like, it's more of a must do for them than for me, but it is a must do for me because it's like, that's the only one in the world and it's supposed to be fun ride and stuff like that. For tier 2, I have Space Mountain. Their version is actually Hyperspace Mountain now. So it's Star Wars themed, but it's a completely different ride. It has like inversions and loops and stuff like that. So it's a completely different feel. My daughter, my youngest one, is most excited for that ride.
Well, on that one, I mean, like I know Big Thunder is just the same ride, but like the track layout is different. It has better views. Like you said, there's water and everything else. That's there. Big Haunted Mansion fan. That's an obvious one, right? Like I just want to try to see the different version, different coaster. But Space Mountain, the one thing I have to ask about this one is, what is the vibe like? Like Space Mountain in Disney World is all like 70s, 80s, like sci-fi kind of corny, but awesome like sound and stuff like that. I'm really curious to see what the vibe is in this one. So
this one's a little different because in Disneyland Paris, they don't have Tomorrowland. They call it Discoveryland, and it's much more like Jules Verne steampunk looking. So you kind of have a mix of themes there because that's still what the outside looks like. It was kind of themed to the whole a trip to the moon where you were supposed to be in a big rocket that launches up into the mountain and stuff. But now it's got the Star Wars overlay. So it's kind of a mix of themes where the Star Wars doesn't necessarily fit with what the outside and the rest of the area is. So I don't know. We'll see how that feels. Next ride is their version of Pirates of the Caribbean. Again, it's supposed to be, it has some advancements and stuff like that, but it's still kind of the traditional version of the ride, but just with some updates. Avengers Flight Force, which is their rock and roller coaster, but themed to Iron Man and Captain Marvel. The Dragon's Lair, which is actually just a little walking tour that goes under the castle, but where they have a giant animatronic dragon that just looks really cool.
This would be like tier 1 for me because that really interests me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's probably a tier 1 as far as must to do, but you don't need to even contemplate.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I gotcha. Yep.
And the last one I put partly for my son, he loves the Speedway and stuff at Autopia, but also probably looking at the map, it just looks more impressive. It's got like more where the pathways like split off and go over each other and stuff like that. Okay. I don't know if it's just that it looks cooler on the map. They did a better job with the map, or if it actually is that much better.
Well, theirs hasn't been shortened 500 times.
Yeah, that's
too, right?
That's true. Maybe this is what the original one looked like. That's true. There's a couple good shows, and Disneyland Paris is actually really known for their shows. There's one that's called Disney Tales of Magic. There's the Line, which is the nighttime show, which is the new version that uses the castle projections and lasers, but also has drones and stuff like that.
That's going to be amazing. Yeah.
So that's one of those, like our first day there, we get there kind of midday. And I mostly want to use that day as like kind of scoping out the park, getting a feel for it, doing what we can.
Yep.
But I definitely want to try to watch the fireworks that night because so far it looks like there's rain kind of for when we're going to be over there, and I don't want to tempt fate and like all of a sudden that we don't get to see that.
Take advantage.
The other two shows that I really want to see is The Lion King, Rhythms of the Pride Land, and Mickey and the Magician. There's a few others that if we get to, we get to, but those are the ones I really want to watch.
I have a random Josh Tomorrow question again.
Okay.
Maybe this is a good, like, I don't know. This would be more of like at the end of the year type of thing, but it won't be for the year. It'd be for like the next 5 to 10 years. Do you think, because you mentioned Avengers Flight Force, do you think Josh Tomorrow brings home Marvel to Florida?
Oh, that's an interesting point. Like, will he try to work out that deal and stuff?
Will that be his like white whale for like the first half of his season? Like, Iger came in and bought Star Wars, or no, he bought Marvel first, right? Or Pixar.
Pixar was first.
Then he bought Marvel. Like those were his like big grabs. Like that's what put his stamp on the company. Do you think Josh bringing Marvel and then a Marvel park or a Marvel land
or
in
something?
Florida would be
I could see it.
I don't know.
I could see that being like something like on his to-do list type thing. Like maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but I could see him trying to make it work.
So just hope that there's a new CEO at Comcast and Comcast does poorly, that they need some good like income streams or something else like that. And they're willing to sell that asset. We'll see.
Yeah. Their character meets are interesting over there. They're actually really popular. So I don't know how many we'll do because I don't want to wait online to meet too many characters, but they do actually use virtual queues for a number of their meets. And there's two that I'd like to do. One is over in their Avengers campus. They have 2 meet and greets for Marvel characters. One is to meet Spider-Man and one is to meet an Avenger. I guess it's often Captain Marvel, but it could be something else. But it's apparently a whole like indoor experience, and you actually like interact with them. And
really?
There's like, it's not just like sit there and take a photo and that sort of thing. It's like kind of more of an experience, and they have a special like photo you could buy, like 3D experience photo type thing or something like that. So that sounds neat, which you can get a virtual queue for. And then the other one I really want to do is Phantom Mickey, which is he meets over by the Phantom Manor, and he's kind of in his like vampire outfit and that.
Yeah, that's a really cool picture.
Yeah, so that's a special one to see. Some of the snacks I definitely want to check out that they're known for is the Mickey beignets they have on Main Street. Disney macarons that they have at a number of places. There's some that are Mickey shaped and some that are stamped with characters. They're known for croque monsieur they have as like just at a to-go window on Main Street as well. Over in the Pixar area, they have ones that are shaped like Lightning McQueen as well, but I don't think they're as good. And then I also I don't normally get pizza at Disneyland or at Disney World, but they have one of the things they're known for there is they do Mickey shaped pizzas. So it's kind of like 3 circles put together a pizza. And one of the places they have it is a restaurant that's themed to Colonel Hattie, who is the elephant from the Jungle Book. So it's definitely a character that doesn't get a lot of representation in the park. So I definitely want to check out that restaurant and pick up a pizza at least to try it and get the photo op and stuff like that. So that's one of my foods.
So you have to grade this on a scale of Pizza Rizzo from our trip earlier last year.
I can already tell you it is significantly better.
Look, well, I mean, like anything, like eating cardboard with pizza sauce on it would have been better. But I'm curious to see, is it twice as good or it's not even in the same ballpark? Let's see. Because again, I think that'd be the only 2 times you eat pizza in a Disney park. Is
I'm spitting it out.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I want to do, was that it for your trip and your updates?
I think that's it. Like, yeah, obviously we'll see how much of a trip report I do when I get back and stuff like that. It's so different. I don't know how many people want to plan things, but I guess let us know on social media or in Discord, like when I get back, do you want me to spend like a couple episodes going in a lot of detail or kind of just hit the highlights?
So what I think would be really fun would be like the general sense, does a Disney park overseas hit the same way for your family, right? As a family vacation, hit the same way as a Disney World one. If it does the same, but like it was just as enjoyable because it's different. Because like obviously when you go home to Disney World, it's like, it has a whole different vibe of nostalgia and stuff like that, right? So what level does that compete with it? And some of the differences in like all the rides, like is it some better, some worse? Is it like, how are the people in the parks? Is it just, there's a lot of different questions. So I'm curious on the difference and stuff.
I'll try to remember some of those because I think that is an interesting thought. My initial thought is I'm expecting it to be more the latter, where it's like it's Disney and it's cool because it's different, but it might not have the same feels as like Walt Disney World, which is like our home,
Yeah.
But it will be interesting if it really hits us emotionally as much or not.
I guess do you feel like it's also your second home, or do you feel like a guest, to use the parlance of like coming home or whatever, right?
Gotcha.
So that would be interesting. I think I hit my nose on the top of my mic last time. That's why I got. I almost did that again because it's really close to my face now. One of the things I kind of inputted in here because I brought up Marvel and potentially opening up a fifth gate, or where that'd be like Josh D'Amaro's stamp. If you don't know who Tommy Hawkins is, he does a really great stuff on Twitter talking about, like, he did a whole bunch of stuff with Epic Universe opening. He does a lot of like studying the parks and doing design and overlays and stuff like that. And he just had a Substack come out talking about how Disney should open up a fifth gate. He didn't go over the IP. He didn't go over any of the other stuff, but he talked about like where on property could it go? How you could design it in a modern way, like how Epic kind of designed it, where like you didn't have to worry, because he's talking about like, this is in parlance to like, Tropical America's expanding, Magic Kingdom expanding, and like how we can expand parks without having to like tear down and build up or plopping things in weird spots like Tron. We're not going to go into a lot of it now because it's a lot of speculation and kind of like technical type of like, here's where you can put bathrooms, here's where you can put parking, here's where you can put like kitchens and stuff like that. But I think it's a really cool conversation to have about where Disney could put a fifth park and like infrastructure reasons why it should go here, rather than just kind of be like, oh, it's really pretty if it went to go here. Like it uses anyway. Go check out. Just Google Tommy Hawkins and his Substack, and it'll pop up. So it'll be a really cool conversation to have in like 2 D23s from now, if like it's speculating a fifth gate might be opening up, because obviously they're not gonna announce it this year, but maybe in 4 years from now when Villains Land opens, that'll be like the next tease. Anyway.
I think it is safe to say though, if they did open a fifth gate, that would count as Josh taking a risk.
Oh, good. Well, here's the thing. It could be predicted, because in the 40-year plan or 10-year plan, or what is it, a 10-year plan that they have with the district?
Yeah.
There is permission to open
they
up
have
a new
they're
park.
allowed to. Yeah.
So all that regulatory stuff and going to the government and whatever, that's done already. So it could happen. I doubt it happens, but it could happen. That would be taking a risk. It'd be interesting. All right. So last week's DVC engagement was the last section before we head off for tonight. You mentioned that the question was, what do you consider to be the most improved aspect of Walt Disney World since before COVID? So, and we were talking about what has gone most downhill, but we kind of nixed that part of it. We're going to stay positive. And for me, like, the community was very confused about this. So the first like 3 or 4 people that responded were like, well, they removed reservations, and they took away paid parking for hotel guests. Like, we're like, okay, it doesn't count if it was just temporary things that you got relief.
Yeah, they were saying like getting rid of the 6-foot spacing and stuff. It's like, well, no, that was for COVID. This is like, what are the things that are for the park? If comparing it to say 2019, do you think are actually better than before COVID?
So what were your things?
Yeah, so I had a number of like smaller things. One is that it does feel like, and maybe it's just me, that they've been doing more updates and plussings to rides, existing rides, like things like the Buzz Lightyear update and Big Thunder Mountain. That it's not just the maintenance they have to do. It's like they're taking that opportunity to actually plus these rides that they didn't need to do. You didn't need to do this to Buzz. It was still a popular ride, but they're doing that. And I think that's a positive thing that I don't remember seeing as much before COVID.
That's my only one. And I totally agree with you, because we've talked about this like for the last couple of years. There seems to be a consistent string of improvements that we weren't expecting as guests that we probably should be expecting Disney to do with the amount of money they make and the amount of guests that they bring into the parks every single day and year. Like, perfect example would be like redoing all the seats at the Carousel of Progress like a year and a half ago. I don't know, like plussing Rock and Roller Coaster. I don't know. There's maintenance and changes and fixes that are just like, oh, this makes sense to do. I mean, which we didn't see for like 5 or 6 years. Yeah, at least in my remembrance of things.
Other one I put, and I don't know if this is actually true expansion or just there's been greater adoption of it by the guests, but mobile ordering seems to be much more efficient and much more prevalent around the parks, and I think that's a positive.
I think you're right. I think it's more. I think there's more places have mobile ordering, if not all the places have mobile ordering now. I think. Yep. I think you're right on that one.
And then the last point I had, and I hope I word this the right way with what I mean, it feels like they target a more diverse audience. And what I mean by that, you see more commercials with like multi-generational families or just Disney adults and stuff like that. Like they open, and with that opening up Geo 83, which is an adults only lounge, and that sort of like. Obviously, families are still going to be their bread and butter forever, but it feels like they're more purposely marketing and trying to have offerings for a broader audience.
And it's just not like two white parents and a boy and a girl ages like 8 and 9, like excited to go to Disney World.
Exactly.
So, no, I agree with you. And there's nothing wrong with it. And I think it's a matter of fact that Disney knows who their audience is and they're advertising to them as different platforms open up. So I agree with you on that. I don't know if that's like, it's obviously an improvement because it's more inclusive also to it as well. And I appreciate a diverse audience when we're down at Disney World.
Well, it's a diverse audience, and I think just like adding variety to the offerings, like the adults only lounge and things that are, it's not everything has to be approachable to every single person that attends. So,
yep. So, I'll go through a couple here. Like TL Madden had a conversation about like change from Genie Plus to Lightning Multipass, but he likes the ability to like not have to do the rat race in the morning, more availability on time, a little bit more flexibility, which is something that we've talked about plenty of times, right? So I really like that. I agree. Hermaniac had a couple different things. He says, he mentioned a couple different things about like the post-COVID stuff, but he also talked about mobile ordering as well. So I want to point that out. Ryan W had a bunch of COVID related things. Then he went back and edited them. So here's a couple of good things. So updating rides and shows, which we kind of mentioned, that was his number one. Additional food and drink options. So you're not just getting hamburgers and hot dogs all over the place. So they're broadening some of the options in here. He also mentioned mobile ordering in more places, which is, I guess, one that's kind of coming up a couple different places. Easier to make dining reservations on the website. This is a big improvement that I totally forgot about until I just read this. It's, if you remember, prior to COVID, in order to get a dining reservation, you had to go select the date and then select the time, and then they would give you an hour window. Then they updated it shortly after that to where you could pick breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it would show you a handful of times in that range. Now it's just like you want to go at a certain date, and you can see everything. So
now and it'll even show you, I think, multiple days, right? Like a 5-day window or something like that. Like it just makes it a lot easier if there's like a specific restaurant you want to go to, but you're more flexible on when. Right,
like they first show a calendar, they just show if it's available or not. Then you can click on the day and kind of go. I mean, it makes sense. It's like this is the way to do it. Also, it's easier to make dining reservations because there's less people going on purpose, and they're struggling to get people into. So there's always availability on that. So, but they've done a good job infrastructure-wise on the website. So I totally agree with that. He also likes the Cool Kids Summer and more characters roaming the parks. I think Disney heard that loud and clear last year. That's because they're replicating it this year. But we've also seen a lot of other characters roaming the parks. Even
there was just a story. I didn't put it in the news, but there was just somebody reported like Mickey and was it Donald, or there was like one other character that were just like roaming around and stuff like that too. It definitely seems like not to Disneyland levels. I don't think it'll ever get there just because of the nature of the crowds at Walt Disney World, but definitely seems much more than they've had in the past.
Yeah. Dynamic parks are always fantastic. Yes. That'll be interesting to see if that increases as Josh gets his feet underneath of him and he can kind of push that. We haven't found out who's taking over.
No, there's been a lot of like stories and stuff like that on who it'll be. People have listed like their top 4 choices and stuff like that. And it's kind of who's heading Walt Disney World, Disneyland. And it's kind of like the people you would think that would just kind of have a one promotion level up from an existing job. But we haven't really heard anything from Josh or anything like that. If that's the direction he goes, or if he brings in, completely different.
I don't think, I mean, this is just guesswork, but like, I would imagine we don't hear anything until he's finally in at CEO, unless something's been in the plans.
That's what everyone says is like, we shouldn't expect an announcement until after March 18th when he takes over.
And would you I don't know any of these people that are in any positions just below where Josh was or whatever, right? So like, I can't guess or anything. My question was going to be, do you think there's any surprises? But like, I wouldn't know what would be a surprise at all. Would it be like current president of Walt Disney World gets promoted up, like kind of how Chapek was and then Damara was, that type of thing? Or would it be somebody else? I don't know. So
I'm wondering if it won't be the Walt Disney World person just because he hasn't been there that long and there's so much going on at Walt Disney World. If they pick somebody else, but we'll see.
Yeah. Last but not least, we have Mama of 6. What's better now? Easier to get dining reservations. So we have another one for there. Increased funding for Imagineering, which is another big thing. I mean, she's totally right on that one that we kind of left off. Is Imagineering is a much better place than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And there's a more of a focus on going back to a lot of those things. And greater attention to detail and excellent refurbs at resort hotels. I got to say, though, again, I'm not a DVC member. Mama Six also goes to a lot of. She is a DVC member. She has experience going to more hotels than I do. I don't really recall a lack of refurbs at the hotels. I think they've been going on at a pretty decent clip. I know you have to at DVC, like it's in the contract that they have to do this every certain many years.
I think what she's getting at least more recently, some of the really recent ones have been. It seems like they found that right
quality,
and also I feel like they found the right balance. For a while there, they almost were going too stark, like all the walls were white, and there was like not enough theming. And then when you see like with what they did at the Polynesian, what they've done at the Grand Floridian, like it seems like they've found a better balance where it's like it's themed, but it's not overly done, but it's definitely there. It doesn't look like any Hilton or anything like that. Yeah. So they found a nice balance, I think.
I really can't wait to see Lakeshore Lodge because this is the first hotel they've built.
Yeah, from the ground up.
Riviera, right? Obviously the Poly Tower, but that was like an add-on. But like this one is a full new property. So I'm really curious what that's going to look like. Funnily enough, this is dangerous, Phil. This is very, very dangerous. We were talking like now when we have family dinner now, and it's not very often where we all get to sit down at one table and have a sit-down meal. But I have a notebook that now we're talking about our Disney vacation coming up in like 160 days. Where I open it up and I start taking notes of what people want, ask questions, have a nice conversation at dinner. And my wife is asking, well, what does DVC cost? Like, what are the, like, because I mentioned Lakeshore Lodge. She's like, well, what would it be expensive to go at what does that go on sale? I'm like, honey, it is going to be like $300 a point, and we need like lots of points to stay for a week as a family of 5. Like, are you ready to spend $50,000 to buy DVC direct from Disney? Because nothing will be available on the resale market, at least for the first 6 months to a year at the very least. But anyway, this time next year I might be a DVC owner and spending way too much money. But next week's DVC engagement was your idea, so why don't you announce what?
Yeah, I saw an article that WDW Info had. Somebody wrote an article about 3 outdated Walt Disney World attractions that need an update, and they talk about what these updates mean and what they would be. I thought it was a good question. Like, if you could pick 3 attractions at Walt Disney World that you would give, and I put like a Buzz Lightyear level update too, so it's not completely like tear down and rebuild, but it's like more than just a paint job type like level update to it. Which would those be?
I think the rules are the attraction has to remain the same IP, same story, but it'll be like a Frozen Ever After kind of refresh or like a complete redo. But Buzz is still going to be Buzz. It's just going to be
Buzz Lightyear themed, and your shooting targets and stuff. They've just done significant updates to it. So that type of an update.
So it has to be like if you pick Pirates of the Caribbean, that means you're like updating all of the animatronics. You're updating some of the scenery, but it's still going to be basically the same ride.
A boat ride, a pirate themed boat ride type thing.
So which ones would you pick? This is not because it needs it. Well, it could be any reason, but like it doesn't have to be because it needs an update because it's old. You can pick a brand new attraction and plus it differently. Like, the world is your oyster on that regard. All right, Phil, anything else that I forgot?
No, I think that's it.
All right. So before we go, I just wanted, because this will be the last time I speak to you on the podcast before you go on vacation. So safe travels. Hope you have a lot of fun. Take a lot of pictures and notes. I can't wait to get to this trip report with you. It's at least going to be 20 episodes long. It'll be Christmas by the time we get back to normal episodes. But that being said, thank you very much for watching and listening, folks, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care, everyone.